On top of that, even if he does find a good woman that maybe has the qualities he's looking for, she was going to want him to marry her, right? And what does he get out of that? Oh, she can leave and take half and take my kids. And she's paid to take my kids away from me. She gets more money if she takes my children. Mm-hmm. And so from the men's point of view, they're just kind of like, F it, because like women aren't wives nowadays.
We frequently hear that 80% of women follow 20% of men. That is the informal 80/20th rule. If you can fit into that group, then women will start coming up to you and waiting for you to ask them out. When I was in my early 20s and in high school, I was in this situation. Women would simply sit next to me in my classrooms and offer their services while I was working. Being one of the 20% of desirable men at the time was simple. All you had to do was look cute, work out, dress stylishly, and avoid making a fool of yourself. Even if you boarded from your father, you were pretty much set if you had a car. However, when I got out of my last long-term relationship, the game had completely changed because I hadn't worked out in about 10 years, and I wasn't as stylish or cute as I had been in the past. In addition, women were now chasing men who were secure and had a lot of money. I saw that I had fallen out of the hierarchy, which was 80/20. I realized that if I wanted to get back into bodybuilding and work on I had to go my own way. It would take time, and it would cost me valuable time away from the things I wanted to do for my personal development. I also couldn't pursue a long-term relationship, so I had to find another way to spend my time. The 80/20th rule is nothing more than male rivalry for female reproductive partners. The main issue with this now is that women use condoms and men use birth control, so trying to pass on your genes is pointless. You get to have a lot of sex, but you also run the risk of false accusations, sexually transmitted diseases, and emotional abuse. You also have to enter a relationship, and the risks are simply not worth it. Once you realize this, you can live your life fully for yourself and let other men deal with modern women's temptations. Because most of you have never actually been in the group of desirable men, you think it's a good thing. However, you don't realize that just because girls are attracted to you doesn't mean the girls you want in your life are attracted to you. Are approaching you and attempting to captivate your attention. The most attractive men fall for the most attractive women for some reason. Since they probably think they have nothing to lose, they probably just go for it. Additionally, if you are an upper-tier man, you are constantly required to reject unpleasant women. 3 or 4 more appear just when you think you have eliminated one of them. They could be larger. They might have a face that only a mother could have made by literally throwing them down the stairs when they were babies. The women you don't want to date will almost always approach you at work. They anticipate being charmed and entertained regardless of the male's social standing. When it comes to dating and relationships, the majority of websites and dating experts use the 80/20th rule. That only 20% of what you want in a partner is necessary. Therefore, the 80/20 rule, which is also referred to as the 80/20 principle in some circles, states that the typical high school or college campus has roughly 80% males and 20% females. The Pareto principle is the inspiration for this rule. This is the notion that 80% of the effects are caused by 20% of the causes. As a result, this results in a society in which 20% of men are said to be content because they are constantly getting. However, the primary issue is that for a civilization to survive for an extended period, the majority of males must be constantly in a relationship. Because of this, the men aren't constantly at each other's throats trying to get sex and attention from the women. In effect, they are no longer in competition with one another. This is a form of sexual communism in which every man who marries has access to reproduction. Before the development of civilization, only about 20% of men held the majority. Therefore, we have effectively returned to a pre-civilized mating game by dissolving the marriage contract and the social contract associated with it. The majority of women who are of reproductive age are perfectly content to have unrestricted children with alpha males. However, when they reach a dead end, they panic and frequently choose a man. That is probably the only time that many men in that 80% of undesirables will get their hands on a woman's golden vagina. In the description, I also include a link to an article. On Reddit, a post was made about the 80/20th rule and the reason why 80% of women are older than 20% of men. Here is what Susan Walsh has to say about it, which she wrote. Walsh was asked, "How do you feel about guys who get with a lot of girls?" When she was asked about the changing sexual dynamics on college campuses, "Do you believe that they are garbage?" One of Walsh's observations is about what she refers to as the soft harem, in which high-status men, like the football captain, have an official girlfriend and a rotating roster of neo-concubines who serve him in the ballroom, or wherever there is beer available. Previously, there was more sort of mating. She explains that whereas a 5-year-old would date a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old wants the hottest guy on campus and can have him for a night. That's the opinion of Susan Walsh. It's also scary because these women will continue to chase the alpha males even after they graduate from college and enter their turbulent 20s. At first, in our society, they will result in a lot of bitter and irate men. However, in the end, those men, the greater part of whom are valid, power forlorn sorts of folks, will live their life independently and accept their fate. However, unless we develop novel technological solutions, birth rates will continue to decline. And civilization will eventually destabilize, because the majority of women will never choose to date on their own in a natural state before agriculture or industrialization. The survival of our species is ensured if the majority of women meet the best males. We were successful in persuading men to give up their work in factories and fields for a golden reward by providing a wife for every man who desired one. However, in the service economy, its significance diminishes. Women's wild animal spirits are at liberty. Also, the best way to get women to work as teachers and serve coffee was to give them the alpha male's carrot right in front of them. However, the service jobs will soon be replaced by automation as well. Therefore, societies will need to come up with a better strategy for encouraging people to prepare for whatever new sexual reality emerges. Pun not intended. The 80/20th rule is working against men at the moment, but that could change in the future. It will be more likely that 100% of women will seek out 2% of men, as opposed to 80% of women seeking out 20% of men. Instead, there may be a man shortage because men who choose to deal with women will almost certainly be compensated for doing so. In regards to host bars and male hosts receiving compensation, that's exactly what we're seeing in Japan. In such a scenario, there will also be a severe shortage of male orbiters who provide women with free attention and resources. Women will hear men collectively say, "Get lost. We no longer require you to make us sandwiches."